The following lesson is linked to Learning Outcome 2, Reading and Viewing, and addresses the assessment standard that requires learners to explain the meaning of a wide range of written, visual, audio, and audiovisual texts. Learners should be able to recognize the socio-political and cultural background of text with assistance.
Hi there everyone. In this lesson we will explore the question, why do we study Shakespeare in the new millennium? What is it about his work that still fascinates people after hundreds of years? Shakespeare's plays are often about people just like us, people who fall in love and teenagers who have trouble with their parents. Have a look at the following headlines and decide how many could describe some of Shakespeare's plays. Man kills girlfriend's father, daughter goes mad. Husband kills wife after jealous rage. Teenagers commit suicide. If you know Shakespeare's work, you will recognize all of them as descriptions of Shakespearean plots. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to explain the relevance of Shakespeare's work in modern society. I think the main reason people can still relate to Shakespeare's work is because his plays are based on universal truths, like human nature. We all experience the emotions of love, hate, rage, revenge, jealousy, happiness, ambition, and envy. These emotions haven't changed over the centuries. Whether you're a caveman or new millennium teenager, we still fall in love with the same intensity. I want us to look at some of the emotions and situations that Shakespeare often deals with in his plays that still concern us today. The situation of falling in love is dealt with particularly in the comedies like As You Like It and Twelfth Night. But I'm sure that the first play you think of when hearing the words Shakespeare and love is his great tragedy of love, Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet is the most famous love story in the English literary tradition. The play focuses on romantic love, specifically the intense passion that springs up at first sight between Romeo and Juliet. In this play, love is a violent, blissful, uncontrollable force that takes over all other values, loyalties, and emotions. In the course of the play, the young lovers are driven to rebel against their entire social world, their families, friends, and even the government. Listen to these lines from the play to see what I mean. Juliet asks Romeo to deny thy father and refuse thy name, and if thou wilt not, be but sworn my love, and I'll no longer be a Capulet. Shakespeare was a great poet, and his plays are full of memorable passages of poetry. Here is another extract from Romeo and Juliet.
The brightness of her cheek would shame those stars as daylight doth the lamp. Her eyes in heaven would through the airy region stream so bright that birds would sing and think it were not night. See how she leans her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek.
But Shakespeare also portrayed the more sinister or darker aspects of human nature, like jealousy, hatred, and revenge. In plays like Much Ado About Nothing, The Winter's Tale, and Othello, Shakespeare wrote about jealousy. Have you ever used the expression, the green-eyed monster? Well, it actually comes from the play Othello. Iago warns Othello about it.
Oh, beware, my lord, of jealousy. It is the green-eyed monster which doth mock the meat it feeds on.
In the play, Othello is convinced that his wife is unfaithful to him, even though he doesn't have any concrete proof of this. In this speech, he takes a kind of perverted pleasure in hating her. So, members of the audience who have ever experienced sexual jealousy will recognize Othello's state of mind.
She's gone, and I am abused. My relief must be to loathe her. Oh, curse of marriage, that we can call these delicate creatures ours, and not their appetites. I'd rather be a toad and live upon the vapor of a dungeon than keep a corner in the thing that I love for others' uses.
Look at the following quotations. They all express deep hatred. Our first example is from the play Hamlet. Let's read this together. Hear, thou incestuous, murderous, damned Dane, drink of this potion. Our next example we took from the play Othello. I hate the Moor, and it is thought abroad that twixt my sheets he has done my office. Our last example is taken from the play Richard III. Foul devil, for God's sake hence, and trouble us not, for thou hast made the happy earth thy hell, and filled it with cursing cries, and deep exclaims. Oh, those curses actually sent shivers down my spine. Sometimes Shakespeare shows two strong emotions together. For example, in the tragedy of Macbeth, the character Macduff learns that Macbeth has murdered his wife and children. His feelings changes from sorrow into anger and a desire to kill Macbeth. Haven't you experienced these kinds of feelings as well? Have you ever been so hurt by something and then you get so angry at the person or people that made you unhappy that you just want to hurt them too? That's a very human experience. Here is an example from the play King Lear of a father's sorrow at the loss of his daughter.
Howl, howl, howl. She's gone forever. Why should a dog, a horse, a rat have life, and thou no breath at all?
These are just a few of the emotions Shakespeare explored. Look out for them and other emotions like happiness and envy when you read his plays, because they could help you to identify the themes easier. Talking about themes, it is important that you must realize that the Elizabethans did not only watch the plays for entertainment. For them, the plays taught moral lessons. A writer is often influenced by the world around him or her, and that was certainly the case with William Shakespeare as well. To understand some of his themes, it is helpful to know a bit more about the political intrigues of his time. So make sure to read a bit of English history when you're studying Shakespeare. Another interesting fact about the men and women living in Shakespeare's time is that they had a very specific view on themselves and the world around them. The Elizabethans believed that the whole world was arranged in a certain order known as the chain of being. According to this belief, God was the head of all things. The king was the head of the state. The Pope was the head of the church. And man was placed above animals, animals above plants, and plants above minerals. Any break in the chain of being, like the killing of a king, would upset the order of the universe and create chaos. They believed that Satan was responsible through witches and evil spirits for all the attacks on the divine order. The themes in the play Macbeth deals a lot with attacks on the divine order or the great chain of being, and the role of witches and the supernatural. In Shakespeare's time, people believed that everyone's and everything's luck were influenced by the events in the heavens. What star you were born under would determine what kind of person you would be and what sort of life you could expect. So can you imagine how shocked the Elizabethans would be if a character decided to go against the stars? In the play King Lear, Edmund, an illegitimate child, is determined to change his luck and destiny by tricking his father and making him disown Edgar, his father's other son and legitimate heir.
Wherefore should I stand in the plague of custom? If this letter speed, Edmund the base shall top the legitimate. I grow, I prosper. Now, gods, stand up for bastards.
Coming back to the question of why Shakespeare's writing is still relevant in our modern society, here are some other possible answers for you to think about. He is a brilliant dramatist. Shakespeare might have lots of profound things to say to us, but we wouldn't watch the plays unless they worked as a theatre experience. The experience of watching the plays is entertaining and spectacular. He is also a great poet. The plays are full of memorable passages of poetry, which contributes to the lasting success of his plays. In today's lesson, we have discussed how many of the emotions and topics referred to in Shakespeare's plays are still experienced today. Here is a task for you to try. Examine the following quotations from Shakespeare and state why what is being said is still relevant today. It is a wise father that knows his own child. How far that little candle throws his beams, so shines a good deed in a naughty world. What's gone and what's past help should be past grief. I hope that by now you are convinced that it is really worth your while to read Shakespeare. See you soon.